You're just like, it's just icky.
We are not currently speaking because of the situation.
I'm not going to stop talking about it.
The Stauffer family has been mostly silent since they rehomed their former son earlier this year, but the controversy surrounding them hasn't stopped. Before I get into the story, I just want to put out a disclaimer. Please do not send any hate to Myka Stauffer, James Stauffer, Brianna K, Detail Geek, or anyone else mentioned in this video. This video is simply meant to report on the news. In our last video on the Stauffer situation, we ended it with the news that Myka and James's former son was safe with a new family. But since that video was released in mid-June, more information has come out about the situation. On June 24th, Myka broke her silence on Instagram with screenshots of a Notes app statement. She wrote, "I want to first off apologize for the uproar and take full responsibility for all of the hurt that I have caused. This decision has caused so many people heartbreak, and I'm sorry for letting down so many women that looked up to me as a mother. I'm sorry for the confusion and pain I have caused, and I am sorry for not being able to tell more of my story from the beginning. I could have never anticipated the incidents which occurred on a private level to ever have happened, and was trying my best to navigate the hardest thing I have ever been through. I apologize for being so naive when I started the adoption process. I was not selective or fully equipped or prepared. I received 1 day of watching at-home online video training and gained my Hague adoption certificate, which was required by my accredited adoption agency. For me, I needed more training. I can't say I wish this never happened because I'm still so glad he is here and getting all of the help he needs. I also know that even though he is happier in his new home and doing better, that he still experienced trauma, and I'm sorry. No adoptee deserves any more trauma. I wanted to help so bad, I was willing to bring home any child that needed me. For this, I was naive, foolish, and arrogant. I wish so bad I would have been more prepared and done more. I wish the decision to disrupt never had to be made. Adoption and all special needs are amazing, and I have a ton of respect for every adoptee, adoption parent, and special needs parent. I look up to you in a million ways, and I'm sorry for hurting the community in any way. Lastly, to debunk a couple complete rumors, we did not adopt a child to gain wealth. While we did receive a small portion of money from videos featuring and his journey, every penny and much more went back into his care. Getting the care and services he needed was very expensive, and we made sure he got every service and resource we could possibly find. Secondly, we are not under any type of investigation. I'm hoping to share more from my side of the story soon. And lastly, I'm so sorry for letting you down. I also want to mention that moms need a safe place to ask for help when they are struggling. No questions asked. We love and know that this was the right decision for him and his future. Praying that only has the best future in the entire world. Comments on the post have been limited, and only a few positive comments are visible. Despite Myka claiming the family was not under investigation, a few days later, on June 30th, the Delaware County Sheriff's Office announced they had closed the investigation they had opened on the family earlier in the month. The Sheriff's Office said they would not file charges against Myka or James. In the press release announcing the end of the investigation, the Sheriff's Office provided several ways for people to obtain a redacted copy of the investigation report. According to the report, the Sheriff's Office and the Powell Police Department received several tips from people who were concerned about Myka's former son's safety, as well as the safety of the other biological children. A detective was assigned to the case on June 1st. On June 2nd, the detective spoke with the prosecutor, who told her that a foreign adoption has to be finalized in the foreign country first, and the adoptive family has the option to finalize the adoption in the United States. However, it is not required. The Stauffers chose to not finalize the adoption in America. The prosecutor also said the secondary adoption to the new family was done through a private agency. The report revealed several things about the adoption process within the state of Ohio, where the Stauffers live. The adoption process is private to protect the child involved. The adoption is formal, and an adoption investigator will do background checks and home studies on the parties involved. However, the court or investigators do not do a home study on the family relinquishing their parental rights. As well, a birth certificate is obtained if a foreign adoption is finalized in the United States. Since the Stauffers chose to not finalize the adoption in America, their former son never had a U.S. birth certificate. The detective found that in the Stauffers case, they were following the legal process and both parties involved were working with lawyers. On June 4th, the detective met with Myka and James at their lawyer's office while their remaining children were in the waiting room. Here are some of the highlights from that meeting. Myka said when her former son came home, he would go into a closet and rock. She would encourage him to go out and play with the other kids. "Come on, what are you doing? Come on, let's go play." Myka said she has records from her former son's therapist because he had self-injuries from excessive thumb sucking. She claimed his skin would be raw and he would have blisters from sucking his thumb. Myka referred to using duct tape on his thumb as a bad judgment call. She said they would purchase thumb guards for him, but he would rip them off. The report also indicated the duct tape was a one-time incident. In hindsight, Myka said she should have paid for the $200 device instead of using duct tape. The Stauffer said they started a GoFundMe at the beginning of the adoption process and raised around $800. The adoption cost $42,000, and the $800 went towards the initial home study. The Stauffer said they received multiple calls from people who had watched their former son, including medical professionals, saying they couldn't care for him anymore. The Stauffers also said multiple people had quit on them, at least in part due to their former son's aggression towards the other kids. The Stauffer said one of the reasons they chose to rehome their former son was because they had to hire a full-time caregiver, which was expensive. They claimed their former son would physically attack their other children and said they had video evidence proving these claims. The report also indicated the Stauffers were informed it's not uncommon to see this behavior in children adopted overseas, and they do not usually do well in homes with younger children. The Stauffers were also informed children adopted overseas should be placed with families with no children or with one or two older children. When these children are in homes with younger children, they are unable to get the attention and supervision they need. The Stauffer said they were concerned about what would happen if their former son got aggressive with younger kids as he got older. They said they were concerned about the safety of their other kids. Myka said her father, who she described as a big guy, told her he could not keep their former son safe from the other kids. The Stauffer said private therapists were coming into the home for 7 hours a day for 7 months and documented their attempts to control their former son. In the last 2 months before their son was rehomed, the therapist allegedly told James and Myka there was nothing more they could do for the child. Myka said that at the end of her former son's therapy, she had to hire someone to be in the home 24 hours a day to ensure her former son would not be in contact with the other children. The Stauffer said the child would throw toys at the other children and try to put them in the head. Myka said her former son would take the floor vent registers out of the floor in his room and try to the other kids with it. She said the experience was traumatic for the kids, and she has a little boy that will be in therapy for a long time. Myka said when her former son went to his new home, one of her daughters told her, "I'm so happy I don't have to get in the head anymore." Myka said the rehoming was necessary and their doctor told her the child needed a better fit. The Stauffers also agreed to give copies of the medical records and documentation to the sheriff's office. Myka told the detective she and her children have been receiving and described one of them in graphic detail. The detective began informing her about steps she could take to protect herself and her family, but Myka interrupted and said she had received 35. The Stauffers also said they were moving from their current home. Myka said she wanted to protect their former son's privacy, and seeing what people were saying about her and their family was very painful. She spoke about wanting to defend herself, but also wanting to respect the child's privacy. The Stauffers were advised to not share more information, which fed into the intense speculation about what happened. The Stauffer said the child's new family was scared and wanted to maintain their privacy. The detective informed them she needed to make sure the child was safe and healthy. The lawyers described the thorough home study process the new family went through: a full investigation by a caseworker, employment check, tax check, criminal background check, fire inspection, safety audit, and medical exams. This process is done on all adults in the home. The detective met the rest of the Stauffer children and said they appeared to be happy and in good health. On June 9th, the detective met with a new prospective adopted family. The adoptive mother was singing a song to the child as he sat on her lap smiling. The child was able to say mama and go when prompted. He was also able to say open to ask the adopted mother to open the blinds for him. The detective observed him to be happy, well cared for, active, and without signs of mistreatment. The report ended with the detective concluding there were no signs of mistreatment or harm to the Stauffer's biological children, and the second adoption process was being conducted legally. Things seemed to be quiet until August. In case you don't remember, James Stauffer has a second YouTube channel called Stauffer Garage, where he cleans and details cars. The channel has over 1 million subscribers. However, James has been accused of copying the content of another detailing YouTuber, The Detail Geek. James has also been accused of staging vehicles for YouTube videos. One person commented on one of the Detail Geek's Instagram posts about a maggot-infested car, asking about another YouTuber's similar video. I just saw another detailer's maggot infestation video. Could yours be any worse than that? The Detail Geek replied, "You mean Stauffer Garage, who is known to have staged vehicles in the past, and who gave away one of his kids after him because he was autistic? I highly recommend not supporting trash like that." Around this time, one of Myka's YouTuber friends, Brianna K, addressed Myka's situation in her podcast, Bits of Bri. She said she understood why people responded to the situation negatively, and the situation was heartbreaking. She also explained her past relationship with Myka. "I just want to say that Myka was somebody who was there for me during the darkest time in my life when I was losing my dad. She was the only YouTuber who showed up to my dad's funeral, and Myka never cared about my views or my subs. That was never why she was friends with me. And I just want to be honest, she was a genuine friend." She said she was no longer speaking with Myka because of the situation. "I don't know if we'll talk again, and it's been really hard because I care a lot about her, and it does make me hurt that I feel like she was really there for me and I couldn't really be there for her, and just the whole situation was really, really hard." She said she was not going to share private details about the Stauffers or their home life. Later, Josh Barber, a YouTuber who has been extremely critical of Myka's actions and content, posted a video titled, "My interview with someone from Myka's past. We were all right about her. Lies uncovered." In the video, Josh interviewed an anonymous person via video chat who claimed they knew Myka and was friends with her in the past. The person said Myka's older daughter's father would move to wherever the Stauffers lived so he could see his daughter.
When they went from city to city, he followed her until eventually he got remarried and started his own life. I know at first it was an ugly situation, and she mentions that. There was a video I remember seeing where she said they were amicable, and I know that if he would come to town here in Ohio, he would stay with them occasionally. So their relationship had gotten better.
The source also said Myka's older daughter was a surprise baby and not planned like Myka claimed in her Draw My Life video. The person was concerned about comments Myka made about her older daughter's father's income.
I remember there were comments to me like, "Oh, you don't have to worry once, you don't have to work once my significant other graduates because they're going to be making bank."
The source said Myka broke up with her older daughter's father around the daughter's first birthday, and the source and her partner were surprised to hear how quickly Myka moved on with James.
The next update we got from him was that, from Kova's dad, was that, several months later she's dating someone new already, and we're just like, what? And we're like, oh, it'll blow over,
The person said she believed Myka's YouTube career was only for money and not to help other moms.
She went from like 100, 200,000. I remember watching the views subscriptions go up to clear over 1 million by the time all was said and done, and he was no longer living with them, or, unbeknownst to us, but we're like, oh my gosh, like I literally could have seen this coming 2 years ago. It's kind of like, it's like, wow. And then when you start to think about that, it's the whole thing is for views and for these sponsorships, and you're just like, it's just icky.
The source said she was concerned when Myka adopted her former son.
The videos where they started to divulge that he was autistic and everything like this, and doctors had warned them, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they don't have, they got him way over their head. And having remembered seeing videos of them saying, I'd never give up my kid, and this is going to be a process, and we're here for him, we'll do whatever he needs. But then, like you said, getting the cheap therapist.
The person was also concerned about Myka and her family going to Bali without her former son before announcing he was rehomed.
Like maybe it was a trial run, I don't know. But you know what, that's that whole narcissistic thing, like, this is so hard for me, I need a vacation from it. And you don't get to do those things solo when you have X amount of kids or you have other things going on.
The source said the Stauffers had and rehomed several dogs in the past. The person said Myka would only reach out to her when she needed something.
She would reach out about the weirdest things, like fitness things throughout the years, fitness advice, being a, fitness professional, so it was very surface level. So I think that's how she is with everybody.
Then on October 14th, Josh posted another video titled, "More bombshells about James and Myka from a close source. I can't believe Myka would say that." In the video, Josh claimed he spoke with someone who was a close source to the Stauffers and recapped the conversation he had with that person. Here are some of the highlights from the conversation. The person claimed Myka does not have a good relationship with her older daughter's father. They claimed Myka used her daughter as a pawn to get what she wants. The person claimed Myka's older daughter never mentioned anything about the adopted son's behavior to her father or anyone on her father's side of the family. The person claimed the Stauffers were adopting a German Shepherd and they had rehomed several dogs in the past. The person claimed Myka was trying to get pregnant again. The person said they believed Myka had no remorse for what happened to their former son. The person claimed James was extremely upset about the situation and he is not as complicit as people believe. The person claimed James is heavily medicated to deal with the situation. The person claimed the Stauffers' management told them to do the infamous family update video. The Stauffers themselves did not want to make the video. The person claimed Myka's daughter's father did not cheat on Myka and the father moved to Indiana to be closer to his daughter. The person claimed Myka delayed court proceedings with her daughter's father due to her pregnancy, and when the court proceedings resumed, Myka was able to get custody of her oldest daughter. The person claimed Myka allowed extra visitation for her daughter's father. The person claimed Myka and James moved back to Ohio after she was granted custody. The person claimed the Stauffers left for Bali after the former son had been rehomed, but pre-recorded the packing videos before he left to keep him in the videos for longer. The person claimed Myka told her oldest daughter that their former son would the daughter in her sleep. Then, later in October, James finally broke his silence on the rehoming situation. Using his Stauffer Garage account, James commented on a smaller detailing YouTuber's video. One person replied, "You are my fave, Stauffer. Nice to see you support other detailers. Building community friendship makes an impact on subscribers too." Josh Barber, using his Dad Challenge podcast account, responded, "Yeah, good to see him help another small channel out, but not his adopted autistic son. This guy is such a gem." James replied to the first commenter, "Amen to that." Josh replied to James using his disaster detailing account, which he created to parody James's content. "Hey bro, any word on whether or not you will ever have remorse for the dirt you did on that little dude you rehomed? You should be ashamed of yourself." James replied to Josh, "Any remorse for exploiting our situation to pay your bills? Growing your channel to say false allegations for clout? Got a comment with the detailing channel, eh Josh? Wanna grow that one too by slander? Jeez dude, go ahead and publish these comments. Your wife must be proud you dress up as Myka and talk about how pretty she is. Creepy." For context, Josh has posted several videos making fun of Myka and James's content. James also responded to another commenter, "No one was abandoned and what happened is not something we ever wanted." When another commenter said he and Myka were copy striking videos about them in order to get ad money, James said, "I wish that was the case." That seems to be the end of the situation for now. This situation is still very complicated and many things remain unclear. However, it's good to know the Stauffers' former son is happy and in a good, welcoming home. What do you think about this situation? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button. To keep up on all the tea, consider subscribing to the channel.